Hi, this is Brent, and we're going to have a brief discussion on the J6 Ethereal piece that I just uploaded. Hopefully everybody's checking out the YouTube shorts that I've been doing. They've been actually going along very well, so that's good. The J6, not the J6, the JX Ethereal piece, the reason why I want to talk about this one, it kind of epitomizes the heavy line approach that I utilize. A lot of things kind of came together with this piece. The character itself they have like a dual aspect. Like there's the piece that's right before it. That's the JX26. It's a more harder piece, more defensive piece. That's also an aspect of the character. And there's and then the ethereal piece is the I don't want to say more transcendent aspect of the character, but the more fluid aspect of the character. This character is very close to almost like a deity in the storyline, and I wanted a piece that was basically floating, very loose, very soft, very that type of thing. In contrast to the JX26 piece. But we'll take a look at it real quick. So here we have, this is the actual piece here. This is with its few layers. So I'll just discuss it real quick from all these layers are real. So we'll just go from the bottom up real quick just to show. Okay. So this is the original line. So this is the original heavy line, as you can see in the YouTube short, hopefully. And when I do the heavy line, as I said before, when I do a heavy line, everything for me is let's say if I create an additional layer here, so I don't sit there and mess around with everything else. As I said before, when I do heavy line, it's like got something in my eyeball now. Everything is like my signature. Everything, almost every move I do, it reminds me of my signature, or it feels like I'm doing my signature. And that's actually, like as instructors or as professors and stuff like that, if we're teaching drawing or something like that, that's something we try to hopefully impart to the students, is to get your drawing as common to you as doing your signature, right? But anyway, so when I do heavy line, it is just literally that. I feel like I'm just doing my signature over and over and over and over again, and it's compiling to make this form. As odd as that seems, because it's actually, for those who haven't seen the earlier heavy line vids that I've made, it's kind of like almost like a backward. It's almost like a backward process. Generally, we normally work with, let's say we have generally, I said meaning like if you're doing like any type of, character drawing of any sort. It doesn't, earlier days we say if you're doing a comic book drawing or something, but everything has that kind, a drawing is a drawing now. Almost like how the majority of drawings of people you see are fantasy drawings, right? And not even fantasy paintings, they're fantasy drawings. So we'll just stick with that. But normally we're working with and I have a whole bunch of new little key setups here, so my little pad is like the bomb right now. It is literally the bomb. So normally, we're drawing out stuff, and as you see, and as I showed before, and we want to begin to, and then we begin to flesh it out until it becomes hopefully not too tight. Once you flesh it out and then you have your pencil version or whatever it is, then hopefully it's a not too tight, clean version of what you were initially gesturing out and stuff, right? And then if you're trying to do a comic book style or something like that, then you'd want to ink over it, do an ink to it and stuff, ink to it. So all of this is not even in, well, it's the last part. Everything I do is very sumi brush, straight ink. As far as as far as Rebel is concerned, because Rebel treats it as if there was real ink onto a canvas. It'll absorb into the paper. It'll drip. It'll do all that stuff. I go straight sumi brush to with my custom sumi brush straight to the drawing. It's not. It's actually, yes, a drawing paper. I was about to say a canvas, to the drawing paper. And there's no preliminary drawing. There's no nothing. That's why I think the YouTube shorts are, for me, so fun to do, because because I believe that part of the fascinating aspect of this type of work is watching the actual process. I watch my own process all the time, and I'm like, yeah, that was a good idea, or like, where did I get that idea from? Like, come on. There's so many of those moments that you get to see when in the YouTube shorts when it comes to this, because it's very much a Control D on that joint. It's very much an orchestrating of forms. It's like you're taking your best ideas, or your ideas in general, then you're sometimes you're building upon those ideas, and then a lot of cases you're arranging them differently, and then expanding on them. But they're always your idea. It's always your idea. And then you're just watching your idea build and build and build in this process, right? So anyway, so let's look at what's your form like. So for those who are sharpening up on their anatomy or anything else like that, we'll go with let's not do that one. Let's go with that one. All right, we'll just use this one, right? So we can see she's barreling out this way. I actually like to draw. I draw back and forth, as you see here, as you can see on the other cam. So I'm constantly flipping like this when I'm working, right? So I'm paying attention to areas like this, like that, and then I'm paying areas like this, and then I'm flipping it, then I'm flipping it, then I'm seeing is this area here countering it, right? Because it is, because you got this curve, angle, like that. It's constantly going back and forth. It's not something I'm thinking of consciously, like right up in my head, like, oh, pay attention to those angles. No, it's happening very intuitively. Of course, yes, this comes from talent, ability, skill, blah blah blah, all that, and also knowledge, general knowledge of studying works and having how many days and hours or whatever it is of drawing and learning human anatomy, learning human form and anatomy and stuff like that. Particularly the female form. So I do what my characters, well, not all, because I have male characters too and stuff like that. But as far as art is concerned, particularly Western art, there's no holier grail than the female form, right? There are so many aspects to it, all different forms. You can have very masculine forms and ultra feminine forms. So you really can cover the gambit of humanity when you're dealing with just the female form alone, which makes it so cool. So you always hear me talking about my baby doll stuff. You can rock baby doll hardcore, or you can go more. Everything's always gonna have a little bit baby doll woven in the female form for my work, but then you can go up into more heroic forms and stuff like that, and still staying with the feminine form, which makes it cool. All right, so let's take her structure. Every time I grab like a pencil, I don't want to do a pencil. Let's do a pen. I'm in a pen mode. Yeah. So her structure is like this, right? And so she's twisting, right? So if you saw in the making of, I actually had her already, where her pelvis was here, pretty much, and so the trick, not the well, kind of just trick, or the task, right? The task was let's take it out of this one. The task was with the abdominal muscles, to be able to connect the form. And the only reason why I'm not using my pen, I don't want to use my pen, because I just realized that the pen is not opaque when it's running with color instead of black. So I'll go with my fun stuff. So anyway, so let's go here, right? I almost all the time think of the torso as a barrel, Okay, but if you're trying to really trying to figure this stuff out, then you may want to go with a more George Bridgman approach, which is that the torso is a rectangular shape, right? So that way you know where the top is and stuff like that, you know, and the sides are, and where the bottom of it is, right? It can be a little bit easier than going like this, because when I do the torso like that, I'm already seeing the center line. But if you're not paying attention to the center line, then you'll everything will get thrown off. So I won't say it's more advanced. I'm just saying that there's you should be able to see it clearly, right? So using a cube will get you far. Same thing. I generally use in my mind. I'm always seeing a cube for the pelvis area, and I'm always seeing cylindrical shapes for the thighs and calf areas, compound cylindrical shapes actually, right? And she has, you know, I didn't because of the pose, I didn't get a chance to rock some 6-inch heels. Everybody knows I like putting 6-inch heels on the female form, um, but I didn't get a chance to do it on this one. Um, Same thing with the arms right now. So with the arms can be seen cylindrical, but I actually approach them more as mechanical arms. So they're in a rectangular shape. I believed at the time, not believe it, but how it was feeling through the form that it was going to create more contrast to her torso and legs. Uh, that, in other words, that those areas were very soft, and so if we have this slight little jaggedy aspect to the arms, then that will actually make the torso area and everything seem even softer, right? And then because she's stretching, let's use another color for this. Because she's doing this extreme rotation, right, on her torso. Um, then there was I wanted to really emphasize. I like that because I like the fact that she was, you know, that she's gazing heavenward. She's ascending, right? She's basically almost floating upward, if you want to think of it, right? So she's ascending upward, or if you want, some people, however you want to interpret. Some people may say she's flying, whatever, but she's ascending. So she's ascending upward. So everything, so all the motion. So you have motion going this way, energy going this way. You have energy going this way. And so my thing was, okay, so this is creating tension. This direction going outward and upward versus this energy going downward creates tension. So I want to demonstrate that through her outfit itself, right? So I always like, you know, somebody had wrote in like how do you come up with outfits and stuff? I like form fitting. I like outfits, period, that accentuate the human form. Everybody knows I like affliction shirts for men, right? So that's where I wear almost all the time. I have tons of affliction shirts, but not because it's by affliction. I like it, or the couture, or the what is it, Randy Couture style shirts and stuff like that. Not because it's not because it's by affliction, but because of how they do the designs. So let's say the designs, so the shirts are form fitting, and the designs on the back usually accentuate the shoulders. Like, in other words, they're like wings or something like that that will accentuate broad shoulders, right? So for men, that's great. Or something that or emblems that are on the chest that accentuate. Not all designs do this, but the good to me the good designs accentuate, you know, the chest area or something like that, or how the chest area connects with the abdominal area with a form-fitting shirt. So I always think like that. I love some of the most beautiful things is a well toned feminine form, like in a no lie, like in a latex outfit. Not necessarily has to be doesn't have to be leather, but like latex or something like that, where there's folds and stuff. And so with this particular outfit, I started to lean, even though it's not latex, I started to lean more towards that in my thinking, because I knew that latex would give me that type of stretched feel, you know, as her body contorted from, like, as it rotated in this direction. So this is just kind of talking out what I was just thinking, right? So she's rotating out that way, and her pelvis is rotating and her pelvis is rotating this way, right? So if I had like a latex type of material, then that would create a stretch. Well, then if I have a latex type material, then it's going to have certain types of folds. It's going to have certain types of specularity and stuff like that. So that all being said, which leads us to talk about color real fast, and then we'll just wrap it up. So I ran with, did I go with 2? Yeah. So I pumped it up to, I have two color layers running, right? So I added another color. This was the original color, which I liked, has a very classic print style, like 60s, 70s print style, right? As far as the color tone and its placement and stuff. But after doing the occlusion, then I want to pump that up. So without making it too heavy. So this is what I wound up with. This base would give me the contrast level that I eventually would have when I generated like the specularity, right? So you see the speck on top of it. So matter of fact, you can see it cleanly now. So you see this is my base tone, and then here's my specularity or gloss, however you want to describe it. And you can see when I was talking about as far as like the latex type of an appearance, right? And how latex would pick up on the light. It's not going to be like a mirror. It's going to pick up on the light. If anybody that does, once again, because I do studio photography, right? If you ever see folds, it's never like, highlight. It's always scattered. It depends upon the fold, depends upon the angle, depends upon what's around it. So you never want to do your reflections like boom, 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 right? Because rarely in reality does it ever happen. Like, it's very sporadic, very natural kind of feeling. So whenever I do movements, like whenever I do that type of stuff, I do all of this stuff. That's why, once again, the shorts are so important, because everything is done with very wild strokes, right? You see that when it comes to the drawings that I don't color within the line in most cases at all. Only once in a while you'll see me lay down like a glaze or some kind of tone or something. I'm trying to be neat about it because I don't want to clean it up afterward. But generally I'm going like this. My arm is going like this. Just like this. Like the image is this big and I'm going like this. Just whoosh, 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 whoosh. Because it's that natural movement from my arm that gives me the line or the effect I want. I just have to clean it up afterward. I have to erase. And that's why I don't do the whole like select out your form and all that. I don't do anything like that because that breaks the rhythm. That was the only thing. The thing I like about traditional airbrush in some ways is because of using Frisket film for illustrations. That's great. But then it's such a hassle, but I don't have the skill set to do like freehand. I mean, I can do freehand airbrush, but I'm talking about freehand airbrush like the person who you go to the beach and they sit there and do your whole portrait freehand for you. Now that's a whole nother level skill, okay, with airbrush, right? So I always found, Frisco was always that thing of, dang God, I wish I didn't have to use it so often to control line. So here I get to really just run wild with it because I already have my drawing already laid down. And that's the main thing, because it all starts with, as we wrap it up now, for those who are new to this, it all starts with the heavy line, right? It all starts with the heavy line drawing that's made, nothing else. And then I go ahead, I do the base color. No, that's not true. I go heavy line, and then I go occlusion. Here you go. Then I go occlusion. Let's zoom in closer so you can see. I go occlusion, right? Then I usually do a hard occlusion with very little blending, right? And then I follow up with a nice soft airbrush occlusion, which just basically adds like another layer. Kind of think of it as like car paint, just adds another layer of occlusion. And I generally do the same thing when it comes to my specularity, which, let's see if you can see it clearly on the spec. Yeah. Well, yeah, you can see it a little bit without the base color, right? You can see it here where I'm running heavy with spec, but then you see I have an airbrush layer. So I deal with the occlusion very similar to the way I deal with my I deal with my specularity very similar to the way I deal with my occlusion, right? And so we'll just wrap it up now with, and then I usually follow through with some analogous colors, generally to aid in the shading of the form. Shade meaning the rounding of the form, that type of thing. Not necessarily I won't say the rounding of the form, no. Variation. It just adds a color tone variation. That's what I like to do. Always like to do that. And I stay very loose with it. I don't clean it up. And, within the form, I stay very loose. And then let's drop some color, and then drop some color. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. So that gives you a good idea of the making of the JX Ethereal. And so like, share, and subscribe, and check out the shorts. And I look forward to being able to see you guys soon. Okay. Or make another video soon. See you guys soon. Now that's hilarious. Okay. Or you see me soon.